Hello, students. So, in the chapter Light, in the lecture 6, we will study that is human eye. So, before going to human eye, a little bit recapitulation we require up to lecture 5, whatever we have studied. That we will do with the help of the question answer, and also one interesting experiment I will describe here, that is the prism experiment. So, if I will ask you what is the significance of dispersion of light into its spectrum, then what you will say? So, first Newton was the first person who conducted, just a minute. Newton was the first person who conducted this experiment on passing the light through a prism. And he let the sunlight pass through the prism, expecting to see the white light on the screen placed at the other side of it. But he saw a spectrum of light after the dispersion. So, what he has done, there was some screen and one prism was there, and sunlight just it falls on the prism. So he has just regulated the sunlight so that one spot will be incident on this prism. Now, in that screen, he was supposed to see the white light, but he noticed one very interesting thing, that he saw the spectrum of light after the dispersion, and he had a small hunch regarding the significance here, but decided to do something else here to confirm it. So, by controlling the size of the inlet, we allowed only one color, only one wavelength of light to pass through the prism. Obviously, the ray of the light was refracted and didn't undergo any further dispersion, right? Only red light or violet light, this wavelength he has passed, and he noticed that yes, there was no dispersion at that time. So therefore, he realized that different colors of spectrum of light bend differently as they have different wavelengths. And he made the observation that violet bend the most and red the least because of their shorter and longer wavelength respectively. Okay. So this was the experiment first done by Newton. Okay. Great scientist Newton. Now, a little bit question answer. After that, we'll go to the human eye. So, first is the defined refraction. Let me change the ink color. Here, the change in direction of wave while passing from one medium to another medium to another is known as refraction. Okay. What is the difference between reflection and refraction? So, refraction of light is the change in the direction of light, just a minute, of light as it passes from one medium to another, and when the light bounces off a medium, it is known as reflection. But if the medium has a smooth surface, then the angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection. Give a daily life example of refraction of light, that is twinkling of stars and formation of rainbow. Okay. So next, human eye. This is a very important part. Now the human eye is spherically, first let me take the pointer. Okay. The human eye is spherically shaped sense organ, diameter about 2.3 centimeter. Okay. What is the diameter? The diameter is about 2.3 centimeter. Okay. And that gives the sense of sight and helps us to perceive the colors and depth. Okay. Now, let's discuss this thing. Here you can see that these are the iris, cornea, aqueous humor, ciliary fibers, vitreous humor, fovea, disc, retina, sclera, and optical nerve. So here light enters the eye through a thin membrane that forms a transparent bulge on the front of the eye. That is called cornea. So here you have the cornea. There is a bulge here. There is a bulge here. So light enters the eye through a thin membrane that forms a transparent bulge. This is the very thin membrane in front of the eye called the cornea. And iris, this is a dark muscular. Here, these are the iris. Here you can see dark muscular diaphragm that controls the size of the pupils. Okay. So that controls the size of the pupils. And the pupil is the small opening in the center of the iris. So here you can see that this is the small opening. This is the small opening. Okay, the pupil is the small opening in the center of the iris. And the lens which is behind the pupil helps to adjust, this is the lens, adjust the focal length required to clearly focus on objects at various distances. Clear? So light enters the eye through a thin membrane that forms a transparent bulge on front of the eye called cornea. And iris is a dark muscular diaphragm that controls the size of the pupil. The pupil is a small opening in the center of the iris. The lens which is behind the pupil helps to adjust the focal length required to clearly focus on objects, right? So first it will enter through this cornea. This is a membrane. After that, it will penetrate here, and this opening will be controlled by the iris. This is a muscular diaphragm. And then the pupil, that is the small opening pupil. Here you can see that if this is the total is black and there is a middle, at middle point you can see some opening. So this pupil is the small opening in the center of the iris. And the lens, here you have the lens that will help to adjust the focal length so that we can see the object clearly. Okay. Now the retina. Okay. This one is the retina. This one is the retina. So the retina is that screen where the image get formed. and it is delicate membrane with a large number of photosensitive cells called rods and cones. Rods and cones. So here you can see that the rods and cones, here you can see that the retina, it has some rod and cones, rod and cones of human eye, you can see where the rods, here the rod, that is rod shaped photoreceptors, rod shaped photoreceptors found in the eye imparting twinkling vision. Okay, and cones, this is cone shaped photoreceptors found in the eye and are lesser in number of, lesser in number lesser in number compared to rods. Okay, so cones are sensitive to bright light and rods are sensitive to dim light. And the optic nerve that transmits the electrical signal from the eye to the brain. So this will go to the brain. Okay, so this is the optical nerve that will transmit the signal, electrical signal from the eye to the brain. Okay. Next, the structure of the human eye. First, you have the sclera. Sclera. So here you can see that this one is the sclera. It is outer covering a protective, tough, white layer called the sclera, white part of the eye. Okay. Then we have cornea. Then we have cornea. The front transparent part of the sclera is called the cornea. Light enters the eye through the cornea. Fine. Then we have iris. Then we have iris. This one is the iris. Iris. Okay. This one. This one is the iris. So a dark muscular tissue and ring-like structure behind the cornea is known as iris. The color of the iris actually indicates the color of the eye. And the iris also helps regulate or adjust the exposure by adjusting the iris. Then we have pupil. Then we have pupil. This one, pupil. A small opening in the iris known as pupil. Its size is controlled with the help of iris and it controls the amount of light that can go into the eye. Okay, whenever you can see that whenever very suddenly some traffic light is some car light, that will be headlights will be on, and you just squeezing your you are just try to minimize the size of the pupil. Okay, so that means you are just using the iris at that time. Now the lens. So here this one is the lens. This one. This is the lens. Behind the pupil, there is a transparent structure called the lens. Behind the pupil, by the action of ciliary muscles, it changes its shape to focus light on the retina. On the retina. So here you can see that this one is our retina. So in this retina, this yellow color, this retina, actually the light will fall. So how much light will fall, that can be adjusted. The focus light will be adjusted, and it becomes thinner to focus on distant objects and becomes thicker to focus on the nearby objects. So it becomes thinner to focus distant object and becomes thicker to focus on nearby objects. Then we have the retina. Retina, it is a light sensitive layer and consists of numerous nerve cells. Here you have numerous nerve cells. And here you can see that it converts the images formed by the lens into electrical signal. And this electrical signal will go through the optical nerve to the brain. And the brain that perceives what is the exact object is there. Now, optic nerves. Optic nerves. So, optic nerves are two types. This includes the cones and rods. Already I have told. These cones are nerve cells that are most sensitive to bright light, and rods, they are sensitive to dim light. Okay. And cones, they help in detailed central and color vision. And rods here, they are sensitive to dim light and they help in peripheral vision. Sorry. At the junction of the optic nerve and retina, there are no sensory nerve cells. So no vision is possible at that point and is known as blind spot. Okay. So there is no sensory nerve cells at the junction of optic nerve and retina in this junction. In this junction, there is no sensory nerves, and you can see that no vision is possible, and this is called blind spot. This is called blind spot. Okay. Next, an eye also consists of 6 muscles. It has 6 muscles, and it includes medial rectus, lateral rectus, superior rectus, inferior oblique, superior oblique, and basic function of these muscles is to provide different tensions and torques that further control the movement of the eye. Okay. So these muscles, these 6 muscles, they are helping for the movement of the eye. Now, function of the eye. Now we will understand with respect to light. Now, eye of human being, this is like the camera. Here you have the picture and it will just take the picture, and here you can see that there is some inverted picture is there, image is there. So in the retina, there the image has been here. This is the lens. This is the lens, and this is the retina. This is the retina, and retina that acts as the screen. On the screen, the image has been formed, and it is inverted. So after they pass through the various mediums like cornea, crystalline lens, aqueous humor, the lens, and vitreous humor, then it will come to the image. So there are several layers. It has to cornea, crystalline lens, aqueous humor, the lens, and vitreous humor. There are several mediums are there. So we will see that thing here. The concept here though is that as the light ray moves through the various mediums, there are different lots of refraction. And first from air, it will go to the cornea, right? Cornea. So refractive index is 1 and it is 1.376. Then aqueous humor 1.336. Then lens 1.42. Vitreous humor 1.336. So you can see that various mediums, they experience refraction of the light, and refraction is nothing but the change in direction of the rays of light as they pass between different mediums. Here you can see that this table, various parts of the light where it faces the light, which will face different refractive index. Okay. Now, having different refractive indexes is what bends the rays to form an image. and the light rays finally are received and focused on the retina. The retina contains photoreceptor cells called rods and cones, and these basically detect the intensity and the frequency of the light. And the image is processed by millions of these cells, and they also relay the signal or nerve impulses to the brain via the optic nerve. This is the optic nerve. Via the optic nerve, it will go to the brain. Okay, it will go to the brain. And the image formed is usually inverted. Here you can see the image is inverted image. Inverted image. And brain corrects this inverted image, and this process is also similar to the convex lens. So now that we have learned something about the human eye, and each eye is very important and play a distinct part in helping human to see. Okay. Now name of some sensory organs. Some sensory organs we have, that is human body: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin. And what are the parts of human eye? Sclera, cornea, iris, pupil, lens, retina, optic nerve. Okay, these are the parts of the human eye. Now what is blind spot? So already we have gone through the human eye very clearly. Now what is blind spot? Let me change the pointer color first. Here, the junction of the retina and optic nerve, where no sensory nerve cells are found, is known as blind spot. No vision is possible at the blind spot. Define lens. Lens is a transparent structure found behind the pupil and visual defects. So we have the human eye, but some defects are there. Some of your friends, you have the spectacles. So these are, and you have also heard one term, that is some problems in the aged person's eye also, and they has to replace the lens also. So here the visual defects include the inability to see the near objects as well as the far objects, right? So here near objects and far objects inability, and the old people lens becomes cloudy and a condition called cataract that impairs the vision. So cataract operation, I think that you have heard this term, that is cataract operation, right? So they are actually the doctors, they are placing lens there. Now the braille system. Braille is a system where the people who are not at all, they can't see for them. Braille system has been developed to read and write the visually impaired people. And it consists of 63 dots, patterns or characters. And these patterns are embossed in braille sheet that can be recognized on touch. Right? The dots are raised in order to make it easier to touch. Now, how does a rainbow form? Only these two questions. After that, the lecture will be ended. So let's solve this. When sunlight hits a rain droplet, some of the light uh, just a minute. Some of the light is reflected the electromagnetic spectrum is made of light with different many different wavelengths, and each is reflected at a different angle. Thus, the spectrum is separated, producing a rainbow. Now, what is sclera? The white layer of the eye that covers most of the outside of the eyeball is called sclera. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you.